Hi, this is Kenny Albert. You're listening to the Broadway Hat Podcast with your host, Kyle Hall, the #1 podcast for all things Rangers hockey.
Welcome back to the Broadway Hat Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hall. The New York Rangers get a big win on New Year's Day following a tough overtime loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning last Thursday night. The Rangers bounce back and get a nice 5-3 win down in Florida against, the Panthers are still a very solid team. I know they're not having a great season this year, but that's a very well-built team down there. But I think the guy who really jumped off the page to me, and for most Ranger fans yesterday, was Kaapo Kakko. What a game. He gets put back up with Zibanejad and Kreider on that top line, kind of reuniting where that first line was early in the year, and they had success in that line. They went away from it. Gerard Gallant, obviously has been toying with the top lines all year long. But Kakko, I thought he played extremely well. Had 2 assists in the game, 2 really nice assists to set up a Zibanejad and a Kreider goal. That line scores 2 goals, and Zibanejad added a power play goal there as well for 2 goals in the game. But Kreider produced 8 shots. Zibanejad had 4 shots. Kakko had 2 shots. They were really good. That line looked really, really good. I thought Panarin looked really good too. He had a goal and assist in the game as well. And Trocheck played really well. So he had a goal and assist. So those 2 top lines really got moving yesterday. And then, I thought Hedl in that line looked okay, the new line there. But Julien Gauthier, I think, is a guy who needs more opportunity. He's played very well this year when he's moved up the lineup in the small times he has. But he's really using his speed to his advantage, and I think he's played far better than I thought he would. And the other guy who's impressed me is Ben Harpur. I didn't think when they called Ben Harpur up he'd do anything, but he had an assist in last night's game, and I think he's been a pretty steady guy back there. I know Hayek has had his struggles, and Zach Jones had some struggles back there, and maybe they found something now, and Harpur back there, I would have to think they go get another defenseman, but so far Harpur in his 8 games, he's got 2 assists, he's a +1 rating. He took a bad penalty the other night, but, other than that, he's playing 13 minutes a game. He's been solid for them back there. He's a former 4th-round pick. He's played in the NHL. He played last year for Nashville, played 19 games for Nashville last year, played 34 for Nashville the year before that, and played a couple seasons with Ottawa before he came to Nashville. So he has NHL experience. I just didn't see him as a guy factoring in this year. I thought it would be Matthew Robertson that might get the second or third look from the Hartford, but he sailed in well, and Halak had a ton of saves in the game yesterday. Made 32 saves overall. He made some really good ones. Kept the Rangers in the game for the first part of it, where they were kind of getting the game going. Zibanejad had the 1-0 goal, got the lead to 1-0, and then he made the great save right before the goal for Zibanejad to kind of set up that goal. So Halak probably I don't know if you can say it's his best game as a Ranger. I mean, there hasn't been too many great ones, but he was really good yesterday. It was a good bounce back. I mean, they had that terrible game last Tuesday against Washington where they got completely run out of MSG. One of the worst Ranger games of the year. They respond with a 2-1 OT loss in Tampa, where I thought they played really well, but I had some flashbacks back to the playoffs last year where the Rangers had a third-period lead, and all of a sudden they just sit back and they kind of just play defense, and it was kind of one of those things of not if Tampa was going to score, but when they would score. And that top line of Kucherov and Stamkos and Point, there's only so much you can do against them. Eventually they're going to break through, and they did. And Point scored the goal in the third period to tie it up. And then you go to a shootout. But Vasilevsky and Igor, I mean, they just showed why they're the 2 best goalies in the world. Vasilevsky makes 45 saves. Igor makes 39. The shootout was incredible. It would go to 7 rounds or 8 rounds in the shootout. It was awesome. It was a great game to watch. If you're a goalie fan, you can watch that on DVR over and over again because there was some excellent goalie play, some great saves. Vasilevsky, I mean, I can't tell you how many times he robbed the Ranger point blank. Zibanejad scored on him again. He's kind of got his number now. He scored a couple goals on him in the playoffs last year, but Zibanejad seems like he knows Vasilevsky's weak spot, and he scored again against him. But it kind of felt like another playoff game against the Rangers in Tampa. It was kind of a playoff feel to the game. It was a lot of the third period. There's a lot of tension you could feel in the air there. So it was a good game to watch. It was a nice bounce back. Obviously, you want the Rangers to win. But to bounce back from that Washington game, to go get 3 of the 4 possible points down in Florida, which is always a tough swing after New Year's, obviously with New Year's Eve celebrations and everything. It was good. It was good for the Rangers. I think you come back now, and the Rangers sit with 46 points now. They're in fourth place in the division, so you're a point back at Washington, you're 3 points back in New Jersey, and you're 10 points back at Carolina, who's now on an 11-game win streak. But the Rangers are in that first wild card spot right now currently. Let's go back and forth. Between Pittsburgh and the Islanders, you're only 2 points ahead of both those teams. It's going to go back and forth. And you got teams like Detroit and Buffalo who are 5 and what is Detroit's now 7 points back. Buffalo's now 8 points back. So these teams, they're still around. Buffalo's a team I think to watch. They've had a couple games that got canceled that they got to make up. They've been playing pretty well of late. They're 7-2-1, so they're a team to watch. Rangers are 7-2-1 too in the last 10 games. But it's the toughest division in hockey. We say it every week. So the Metro will go back and forth. The Rangers have a couple tough games coming on the schedule. You're at home tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes. So you're trying to break the Hurricanes' 11-game win streak. They just beat the Islanders. The Devils in a shootout. And then you have a team in the Canadiens that you have to win on the road. That's a team that you have to win, and then you go on the road against New Jersey, who has been struggling lately. So, those are 2 games that you hope the Rangers would get. I know it's a road game in Jersey on Saturday, but you got to win against Montreal. You got to get some division wins here against the Devils if you want to make up some ground. And then our old friends, Matt Zuccarello and Ryan Reeves, are waiting for you at the Garden next Tuesday night. So, some good games coming up. The Rangers play the Canadiens, I think, twice this month. So hopefully they can get 2 wins there. They got Columbus coming up this month as well. Another game against the Panthers at home. So those are the teams you need to beat, because then you have tough teams like Toronto and Vegas and Dallas, and Minnesota's been really good this year too. So you got to beat the teams that you're better than, and you got to stick with the teams that are the top teams in the league. And that's the only way, because you're going to have 100 points this year to get in the playoffs, just like last year. And the Rangers cannot lose these games that slowly get away from them, like. For instance, like that the Penguin game, like that's a game you have a lead, you got to close that game out against the Pittsburgh. I know it was at the end of a winning streak, so you don't really think about it, but against the Senators, you got to win that game in OT at home early in December. Those are games that come March, you'll think back on, like, man, if the Rangers could have gotten 1 more point there, if they could have gotten the 2 points there, or pushed the game to overtime here. Those are things you look to, and hopefully the Rangers don't look back and say, damn, I wish we got, those 3 points in December were huge. But unfortunately, it looks like that might be the case with this conference and this division. But this week, we welcome back an awesome guest, Dillan Fox, great guy. He was on way back earlier when we started the podcast, so it's great to catch up with him. He's since retired, Maine Mariner legend when the Rangers were the affiliate, when they were the Rangers affiliate there for the East Coast League. He played in Maine, and he also had a call up to Hartford during his time in Maine too. So we talk about all that, just general hockey talk. Just a great guy, a SUNY guy. It's always good to have a SUNY guy in the show, and just one of the best guys in the world to talk to. So it was great having him back on. But before we start to interview with Dillan, I do want to tell you about our sponsors over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Hockey fans, light the lamp this winter at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win, and they get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals they'll be scored, for even more of a shot at a bigger payout. So go and download DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Broadway and bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and win $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code Broadway. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. Please see show notes for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or if you live in New York, please call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. All right, we welcome back one of our favorite guests, great guy, the pride of Plattsburgh State, Dillan Fox. Thanks so much for coming back on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think you've taken this to new heights since the last time I've been on, so it's tough to get me back on. I think I was trying to track you down, but no, thanks for having me.
I think I looked up this morning, episode 17, April 2021. So I mean, the whole world has changed since you've come on. And unfortunately, I did see some bad news regarding yourself a couple nights ago. Alex Kyle tied the franchise record for goals with the Maine Mariners. That's a tough hit. That's a tough hit.
Yeah. Well, it's I'm glad it's a guy that I know. But I knew that was coming up soon. And I think he might I mean, he got there before me. I think he was the first Maine Mariner ever signed, so it's only right. He kind of took over the reins, and I'm glad it's a guy that I can keep in touch with, and hopefully he doesn't make it too much ahead of me. I still want to be remembered a little bit, but think my time's been done there for quite some time. But happy to see a guy I know do it.
And you could blame Riley for that. I mean, he had him in Lehigh Valley and sent him back down. I mean, come on.
It was funny too. So I think the day he got sent back down to Maine, or it was I don't think like anybody knew about it. And I saw Danny Briere we were at the Eagles game, and he told me, and I was like, oh, yep, that's
the
record's done now. So
also love the quick name drop there of hanging out with Briere at the Eagles game.
Just my buddy Danny. No, it is funny when I do see him, and just how normal he is with me, and he was kind of like my boss there for a while. Now being on the other side, just a good friend. He got tickets. We went to the Flyers game the night before, and I didn't get a chance to see him. He's working, but he saw us at the Eagles game, shot me a text, so we got to catch up a little bit there. And I try and act like I keep up with the hockey stuff as much as he does, but I'm a little on the other side of it a little bit now.
So I get you're in Hershey area there. What I always wondered this because we go to Hershey all the time, my family, but who is like the team there? Is it Philly? Is it Pittsburgh? I know the Caps are the affiliate there. So I don't know if people like turn to Capitals fans. Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So it's kind of right down the middle. I mean, it's always hard to explain, especially when I was growing up. That's what you'd either go. I played for the junior Flyers, and that's an hour and a half from here. But people just assume, that's near Philly or that's near Pittsburgh. It's like, no, it's right directly like in the middle. So you get kind of both. I mean, I was a Flyers fan growing up, but I got buddies that love the Penguins. And then the Capitals, obviously, just because of the affiliation, you'll see a lot of those fans. And that's probably like 2 hours from here too. But yeah, I remember growing up and the Bears were with the Colorado Avalanche. And I was like, how does that work? But they would always come and play a preseason game. And they'd play like the Penguins or the Flyers. But I think the Capitals one makes a little bit more sense than the Avalanche.
I'm sure there's still kids at Hershey that run around Avs jerseys now because of that too. I'm sure that
they have
that's stuck.
Yeah, Bob Hartley was the coach here in Hershey, and he still runs a camp here every summer. I know then he was up with the Avalanche for a while, but yeah, he still comes back here and does that. So there's still some of the Avalanche, I guess, affiliation there with the Bob Hartley summer camp.
Bob Hartley is not a fan of me because during the 2021 World Championships, he was coaching Latvia. Okay. And at the time, the Rangers just fired Quinn as the coach. And he was one of the rumored names. And during his Latvia press conference, I had a press pass to Team USA. And I was like, hey, Bob, question for you. What interest have you shown the Rangers job so far? Like how they reached out to you. Yeah. He shut me down so fast. He's like, I'm not talking about the NHL. I'm not talking about the Rangers. I'm talking about Team Latvia, whatever. And I'm like, okay, great. Have a great tournament. And I got a message from the media person afterwards, like, hey, like Bob's not answering any more questions about the Rangers. So then I'm like, Hartley's going to the Rangers if he's shutting this whole thing down. Like he's getting all pissed off. And then the funniest thing is the next day I had I was on the list for Gerard Gallant's press conference. And I was like, I'm not going to ask him about the Rangers because it seems like Hartley, like everyone was saying was Hartley. Like he made such a big deal out of that. And then I talked to him about, Braden Schneider being on the team. And then sure enough, like 3 days later, he gets named head coach. I'm like, damn, I should have pressed him for it too. But Hartley not thrilled with my question.
Yeah, you used it up.
I used it up. I use it
Yeah,
up.
he's over. I think he's over in Europe still coaching or something. But I remember growing up, so I had signed up to do his hockey camp, and I don't know what ended up happening or what, but he called my house and left a message, and it was like in the middle of the hockey season, and it was like I remember my mom's like asked my dad like, "Hey, did you sign Dillan up or something?" And he's like, "What are you like? What?" He didn't call, and I remember like we all listened to like the message on the answering machine, like, "Yeah, this is Bob Hartley." Like my dad's like, "No way that he just called the house." Never ended up going to the camp. Maybe I should have, but yeah, pretty funny.
Yeah, Stanley Cup champion coach. Not a bad phone call to get.
Yeah, yeah, that was the first call up I turned down, I think.
I guess your question, because you played, I mean, you're one of my favorite guys to had on because you went from D3 to the Southern Hockey League to East Coast, and you made it eventually to the Hartford Wolfpack for a couple games, a great best 2-game run in Hartford Wolfpack history.
Yeah, that's what they say.
And I had Nick Luco on last week, and we talked about the jerseys, like the crazy, stupid, like, you know, the gimmick jerseys that they wear on the coast and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
When we talk about Team SpongeBob and he hates them. He absolutely hates them.
Yeah.
Which I think is hilarious because he's got to be the one that kind of puts them together. What did you guys like in the room feel about those jerseys? Like, did anyone ever get excited to wear any of them?
Yeah, I mean, I guess sometimes like the ones that never made sense to me were just the like the superhero ones. So like you're on the road and you're wearing like, you know, and we were in Utah and we were wearing Iron Man jerseys. And I'm just like sometimes you wouldn't even get your number because like they ordered them in like July. So you're wearing like a different number and like they never fit. Like, so I guess the cool part about it is like if I go back to like a Maine Mariners game or like a Reading Royals game, there's a like, you know, a Iron Man jersey of mine kicking around, or like there's a Ninja Turtles jersey. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that jersey. Like it was probably, you know, there's probably 200 people there and it was a Tuesday night. And, but yeah, that like, I don't know. I guess it is kind of like we wore Joker jerseys one night in Worcester and they were terrible. Like they were like purple and they wore like, I guess they wore Batman jerseys. They pretty much could have been the same thing, but yeah, I guess it's fun for the fans and stuff. I know growing up and going to like Hershey Bears games, those were always the cool things when they'd wear it, you know, the New Year's Eve jersey or, you know, they'd have some wild jersey. So I liked it. But yeah, when I was in Mississippi, we wore Elvis jerseys. So we did that. We were like, that was like a big deal, the Elvis night. So that's kind of one I can stick in my cap. I don't think anyone's doing that anymore with the Elvis connection, but yeah, kind of I guess it's a cool thing for minor league sports, but yeah, I could do without it too. Yeah, actually, Luco, I grew up playing with him, and then I ended up playing in Reading. So I listened to Luke's podcast. Funny to see him and Wally now, the big dogs, the head coach. So it's, yeah, I'm still the clown when I talk to Wally. Like he's just my teammate, but I gotta remember he's, you know, that's his job now.
Yeah, no, that's funny because Wally, we had it right. I think he came on right after you. And he's gone on to now be the head coach at Maine, and Riles has gone on to now be the assistant coach there in Lehigh Valley, which it seems like, you know, you come on this show, good things happen. Yeah, you know, it's pretty good.
It's funny. I mean, it's awesome for Wally. I think he is like, he was an awesome player, but even when he was playing, he was kind of, you know, that just a great leader and all almost kind of like a coach. I was the type of guy, like we would joke around because I didn't even know like guys I would play with, like if they were right-handed or left-handed. Like they'd ask me on the bus and I would be like, I can't even tell you. But Wally knew like everything, everybody's curve. Like he was just always so dialed in. And I was like, you know, I always tried to not like overthink anything. But he used it to his advantage. It was always working on stuff. So it's good to see him, kind of take over. And his assistant, Johnny McKinnis, I played with too in Maine. He's an awesome guy. So yeah, I do check in with those guys quite a bit. And then Riles, I feel like he texts me once a week. You come to the game. I'm like, you guys were just here 2 days ago. I'm like, I'm not. No. Sometimes I just pop in at the end just to say hi. But yeah, he came to a show the week before Christmas here at the Giant Center. So he stopped in before. We had a couple drinks here before he went over and watched like a Christmas show there. So still keep in touch with him. And yeah, they're both kind of climbing the ladder. And I guess that's, whether you're playing or coaching, that's just kind of what you do,
I send Riles a pump up text probably like once a month just to make sure, because that guy's gonna be an NHL coach soon. So I just want to make sure that I stay on his good side for as long as I can.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because he's climbing the ranks up fast. And they used to have Artemi Nisimov, who I love with the Rangers.
Yeah.
And I texted him like, you got Nisimov. I was like, oh, awesome job. I saw you guys got Nisimov. Like, that's awesome. And he's right. He's like, yeah, it's great. I'm like, all right, good. Yeah. I'm on the mind for another month with him. Good. That's good to go.
Yeah. It's funny with him because he's so easy to like talk to and stuff. And now that, I'm not playing and he's not my coach, we have a funny relationship where I'll check in, or, he'll stop by and it's just like we played together almost, not even that he was my coach. But yeah, funny to see him now, especially in this in that organization, kind of a team that I grew up really liking, to see him, as he's growing and kind of with Danny there, it's fun to cheer for those guys. So.
And then Brassard, another guy you play with, just scored a goal. He was the rage of the hockey world right before Christmas. I think, is that his second goal? I think it's his second goal, right? Didn't he?
So actually, I heard he had 2 in junior. And then I honestly feel like he's got a couple more. he probably has one in college. But yeah, a couple of years ago, he was squaring off at center.
I was saying he's fighting guy. Yeah, right. That was our floor. I think that was a big thing too. So
yeah, so he does it all. And it was funny because he would always send me clips when we were playing, and he'd be watching like on the bus, and he'd send me a text, and it was him like giving me a breakout pass. He was like so pumped. So yeah, he always loves. He was definitely feeling himself there because it looked like he went for it a couple times and then finally got it. So
I just love that he did the line too afterwards. That's the best. I love that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Oh yeah, he's feeling himself for sure. He and it's funny because every time they go to Glens Falls, my last year we played. We were supposed to play the Thunder, I think 18 times. So we were there all the time. So the guys always text me when they're there or like send a picture. And I'm like, no, don't, I can't go back. I was getting texts last season when everybody was getting hit with COVID, and a couple of teams asked me to come play. And some of them were like, yeah, we're playing in Glens Falls. And I'm like, anywhere but there. Also, that's not really close to me either.
You and I were messaging during that, and I think I was like, "Has anyone reached out?" You're like, "Yeah, every once in a while." Like, I think someone reached out to you about a New Brunswick run, right? Like going up to Newfoundland or something like that. You're like, "Yeah, no." It was like January in Newfoundland. Like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, then like I always wonder, like it would obviously be like would have been fun to do, but I also was in that other spot where all I wanted was like a chance to play like in the ECHL. And I'm like, now I'm getting texts just to hop off my couch and do it. Like call one of these other guys to like, and then if I go and like, yeah, well, we got 2 games next weekend and I'm kind of feeling myself, then I'm right back in it. It's like, oh man, have to put the clients off for a little bit. I got to head up to Newfoundland or Allen, Texas for a week. It's like, yeah, I think that time's done.
Texas in the summer is not that bad. I mean, the wintertime not that bad. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would love it.
Could be a pretty good. Yeah.
I was telling Wally I could be the video guy for Southern Division road games only. So if we got a Southern swing, maybe I'd come down.
There you go.
Help the boys out. Yeah, I think I'm done with the trips to Glens Falls anytime soon.
Well, Luco is telling me that the guys, whenever a guy from the Rangers comes down to practice, he's got the Ranger tracksuit on. The
Oh,
guys
yeah.
always play a little bit better during practice, a little more focused. So
Yeah.
maybe I told him, I said, I'd be willing to go do that for a week or two. Sit down there in a tracksuit in the stands. Yeah, hang out, play some golf in Jacksonville. That's not a bad gig. Maybe
No.
you and I can split those duties.
Yeah. I remember we would have the Rangers guy come too, and it was funny because like obviously they didn't care who I was. Like it was more for like the other guys, but I was, I'd joke around and kind of clown for the Wally and all those guys when the Rangers guys would come down just to get my name out there a little bit.
Hey, it worked. Yeah. Got the call up. And now I think you've had like three or four guys from those Maine teams that made NHL debuts now. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. There's I think the one that was probably the most special for me was Sean Day. Just because there's so many guys that come down and you kind of think about they don't want to be there, and you understand it. But he was from the time he got there to the time he left, he was so just an awesome teammate, just like a funny guy to be around. And so to kind of see what he's been through and then get that opportunity was awesome to see. Like when everything shut down, you weren't really sure how things would go, but he was one of the guys that I really stayed in touch with, and was happy to see him kind of get the jump. And it looks like he's still doing well. Even from when we stopped, he was kind of buried there in Maine, it looked like, and to get another chance to even do what he's doing in the American League is awesome. So
yeah, there's a lot of guys from that Maine team that got on to even play big minutes in Hartford too. So it's a testament to Riley and the team up there, their development of how good. And I talked, I had Nick on the show, and I had a couple guys, that follow the show message me like, oh, like, is Jacksonville a team to watch? I'm like, listen, now the East Coast League is not just fighters and animals. Like, they're guys that actually have skill down there. And there's more and more draft picks. There's a lot of good goalies down there now too. Like, you got to keep an eye on goalies because look how Huska was down there. He made his NHL debut last year with the Rangers, played big minutes in Hartford. I mean, these are guys that can actually make an impact on a team. And I think a lot of people think the East Coast League, they see that and they just think basically they think a slap shot and people killing each other, but it's not. It's really gone away from that recently.
Yeah, it's crazy too. I don't think a lot of people realize like the grind it is. Like if guys that go down there, you have to play like you have to kill penalties. You have to play the power. There's 10 forwards. I think there's 11 now, but it's just you're forced to, ride the bus all night and then play a 3:00 game the next day. Like you're putting every situation like possible. And, I think that's really a place that you can find your game because you're playing 20 minutes a night. And, like you said, some of these guys come down and they're real good players, and then they're forced to play in all these situations. So I think it makes you grow up pretty quick down there. And then there are those nights too that can get away from you. So you can't run around like an idiot.
So I was looking up, like I said, you retired last year. You officially retired. Congratulations. You made your final, your big touching post there. Then you went to Maine for your little non-jersey retirement ceremony, which we'll get to that. I put in many requests for that. Yeah. But so I'm watching your retirement video that Maine put out. Very nice job by Maine. Had to be very cool to have that put out.
That was awesome.
And then it brings me to the next YouTube thing, which is a Hartford Wolfpack while you were there. And it was just a scrum in front of the net. And then I read below it, it says Dillan Fox gets stick held and turnover. Whoever it was goes the other way and crashes into Igor Shesterkin. I was like, now that is a headline right there. Dillan Fox gets held and turnover into an Igor Shesterkin collapse. It says team takes out Shesterkin. Hartford Wolfpack not happy. That's all it said on it. That's great.
Could change the trajectory with one turnover of the organization. So no, that's funny. Shesterkin's the guy I always like with my buddies, especially with all he's done. And he probably wouldn't remember me at all, but I definitely remember Igor. So glad we got to lace him up next to each other for a couple games.
I think, yeah, when last we had Jan, it was his just got called up, right? I think he was just getting his feet wet.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, like he's gonna be a good player. And then sure enough, he's turned into,
Yeah.
last year's Vezina Trophy, like how sick he was. And like,
Yeah, it was funny. He got called up to the Rangers like a week after I was in Hartford, and then I'm
that was it.
assuming,
Yeah.
yeah. But I remember getting up there and I was sitting next to Ryan Gropp, and he was in Maine with me, and he was talking about Shesterkin. He's like, "Yeah, this guy's nasty." Like, and I think we were in first place at the time. Like, Hartford was having a really good year, and I remember just thinking, "Hey, he's like kind of tiny. Like, his pads were like super dirty." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I'm sure he's pretty good." And obviously he was very good. But I was like, this guy's like 5. He's like my size. I'm looking at Huska. He's like a monster. I'm like, all right, yeah, sure, he's pretty good. Turned out to be pretty good. Yeah.
That'd be pretty good. I mean, you can say it was right after you were there. So, I mean, probably you peppering him in practice and everything else. I mean, that probably opened some eyes there.
Well, there were a couple. I mean, I practiced probably 4 times, and every time I was one of the guys that went out and shot on him. So yeah, I think I built that confidence. Good.
Yeah. I mean, he should have probably thanked you in the Vezina Trophy speech.
Yeah. He was very nice. Afterwards, he'd always come and, say some broken English to me. But no, that is one thing I remember is how nice he actually was to me. Just being a guy that was only there for a little bit, but every time I did do those like the goalie stuff before practice, he was really appreciative and stuff. But yeah, his English was coming along a little bit at that point, so not too much was said, but he was always really appreciative.
You learned how shoot harder means in Russian when
yeah. I was just trying to hit him, and he was probably like, you can shoot on me, but the broken English I think got in the way.
So now that you're a fan, you can sit back and watch these games. I guess who's like your favorite guys to watch now? Like, what is there teams? Like, you still watch the Flyers, obviously, but are there certain guys you definitely like to watch now?
Yeah, I mostly watch the Flyers. I don't get a lot of the other games. I mean, I try, like right now, most of the time, my girlfriend's always like I'm like, yeah, we don't need to watch hockey, and she'll come downstairs and I'm watching hockey. So, but yeah, some of the guys that I like, as far as the Flyers go, I really like Kevin Hayes, which is kind of wild to say right now because I don't think many people there like him. Obviously,
Torts doesn't
getting it. Yeah, Torts has been on him a bit, but I think he's a good player. When we went to a game a couple of weeks ago, it was fun to just watch live game. I think he's a responsible player. I like 13 too, but it's nice too to see a guy like my age I can cheer for now. They're all like 20, so
yeah, I know.
I like to pull for the older guys every once in a while.
It's rough looking at some of these rosters, and you're like, I'm talking about Braden Schneider today. Kid's 20 years old, and I'm like, I'm sitting here, and I look down the roster. I'm like, not even one. I'm an 89. I'm like, come on, not 180 on this entire roster. Like, what is?
We're in like the 2000s now. And
it sucks.
Yeah, it's funny too when I see like I have some good friends of mine, and they're my neighbors, and they're in college now, and it's funny because if I was still playing hockey, there's guys on my team that were their age, so it's like I connect with any age if I need to. So
I look at the Rangers roster. I think there's only like 3 guys that are older than me. I'm like, what the hell? What happened right now? What happened?
It's getting young, yeah. And then you come to, you go to a Hershey Bears game, and yeah, it's like a whole different
20-year-old, 21, 22-year-olds, yeah.
Yeah, they're like getting dropped off at the game and drive to the rink. I feel like.
Now, has Hershey? Did they have their teddy bear? They have that big teddy bear toss, right?
Yeah. So I actually went to the one last year. I didn't go. I'm assuming they had it this year already. But I went to one last year, and they played Hartford, and so that was funny because I was texting Ripper, their equipment guy, and he's just standing on the bench, and it's like an hour to pick up all these bears. and he's FaceTiming me. So we had a good laugh there. Because it is a production when it happens, it's a whole thing. But yeah, that's always a cool thing they do. Obviously being the Bears, and you know that they always pull a pretty good crowd to begin with, but when they do that night, it's hard for me to even get a ticket, but I'm losing my way in.
Hey, listen, you're royalty there in that town.
Yeah. I do have a jersey from my camp. So
You have one? Okay.
Yeah, so it's funny because I want to put it in my office because a lot of people are always asking about once I talk about hockey or someone says something about hockey, I get that going. But yeah, be a good conversation starter in there. I'd probably fluff up the story a little bit.
I was gonna say, a couple of years, me and Matt Molson, besties,
Yeah, it was before you probably started paying attention. It was 5-6 years ago. So
yeah, right. No big deal. No big deal.
Yeah. Management really screwed me, but I won't get into it.
I think I texted you. It was 2 times ago when I was at the Bears den. I texted you the picture of the jersey. I'm like, is this the old preseason jersey up here on the wall? And you're like, no. That's elsewhere.
It's funny. The guy, so the president, Brian Helmer, I played men's league against him now. He's awesome guy. We've become pretty good buddies. He's helped me out with tickets for like a couple kids and stuff. And he texted me, he goes, "Hey, we have this jersey." This was probably, a year or two after. He says, "Hey, we have this jersey here." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "No, you don't." And he's like, "Yeah." So I guess they get them made for everybody that's coming to camp, like at the beginning of the year. And I was like, yeah, I don't know why you do, but he's like, "Yeah, it's just sitting down here. Like, you want to come and get it?" So I do have a official game jersey with Fox 40 on the back, number 40, the old linebacker number. And
it's a name. So I have it's a number that's definitely making the team.
Yeah. I think the name bar is just Velcroed on there. No, but I do have that, so that's always kind of cool. I should do something with it. I'm sure I will once I start getting settled into real life.
You should have thrown the Hartford jersey in the bag on the way back to Maine. That's what I would.
Oh, I do have some stuff. I had Rippers hook me up here quite a bit, so I have some gear from there, but yeah, that one would have been nice. The 23, the Fox 23.
Yeah. The original. Actually, no, Fox was there already. He was already in Europe, but yeah, it looks pretty good.
I think they had that made in case he came down, and then I got called, and I didn't even put it together. Like, I didn't know what number he wore. So once I did, I was just joking with a guy, Garrett Mitchell. He plays in Rockford now, but he lives in Hershey. And I was just telling him that story. And I wish it's probably good I didn't realize it. But yeah, thanks for it. Was brand new. So
yeah, that's pretty fun. Actually, I put it together. Well, I guess when we had you on the first time, I was like, that's funny. They had 23 Fox. And then I was like, I wonder if that was made for actual Adam Fox. And then and it was good for Dillan.
Yeah. Unless they thought I was coming up, but no, they I didn't put it together. Luckily, I didn't. But all the guys on Hartford, I guess, were really confused. Like, is Adam Fox like coming down? And that's Gropper was telling me that, and I was like, oh boy, yeah, sure, that was tough.
The nameplate goes up. They're like, oh man, what happened?
Yeah.
And you come walking through the door.
Yeah. I didn't even know what position I was playing, and all the guys are worrying. But yeah, that was nice to walk. Thanks, Ripper. That was great.
I guess talk about the Flyers now. I mean, they're a hot mess. They start off looking good, and Torts, usual Torts gets the guys going, and then usual Torts, and everything falls apart really quickly. I mean, I know Riley won't say anything. I asked him about it earlier about how crazy he is, and he's like, "Oh no, he's great." He has to say that, but I can't even imagine the shock and what he brings into that locker room. I mean, he's a man.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, when you look at their roster and how the injuries and all that. You almost kind of forget some of the guys that they had because they've been out so long. But yeah, it's sure not easy to play for a guy like that, especially at that level. So Alex Kyle was actually at camp, and he sent me a text or a Snapchat or something after the skate test. And he was like, "Oh boy, yeah." He's like, "You got any job openings?" Because he was hurting. He was thinking about, maybe that wasn't for him. But no, I think obviously the guy's got a pretty good track record. But the way things are going with the game, it's some of the decisions you kind of scratch your head. But he seems to know what he's doing. He keeps getting jobs. So
yeah, people still keep getting him. I mean, it seems like it was just yesterday with the Rangers. He was here and just doing crazy stuff, and he's bounced around since then to Columbus and then back to ESPN and back. Was he in Vancouver in between there? I don't know. Yeah, he's bounced around so many different places. It's crazy. He keeps on landing places. But yeah, I had Riles came on after the rookie game because he coached the Flyers rookies against the Rangers, trying to get some intel, from him on that. And he was gearing up to get into camp, and he's like, "I just hope I don't have to do any skating tests." He's like, "That's what I'm worried about."
Yeah, that did not seem fun. It's almost like, the skate test, that was like the biggest thing, all summer, wherever you're going, that you worry about. But then I'm sure Torch probably wasn't as nice letting the guys know, what they were doing, and if they're probably going in there thinking, worrying a little bit more than they usually would. So yeah, I can't imagine. I don't miss that part of it. I'll tell you that.
I just like how Torch was like, "Listen, it's a new me. Like, it's an NHL's changing. I'm adapting." And then immediately goes right back to his old self.
Yeah, about 6 games in. Makes it fun to watch as a fan.
But hey, listen, their block shots are up this year. They're definitely blocking more shots.
That's bet the under.
Yeah, exactly. Then Maine last year, they had a great ceremony for you. You went back up there for that. And I was messaging with Michael up there, and I was like, "I'm like, no jersey retirement? Like, what's going on with my guy here?" And he's like, "Oh, no, he's having a good day." I'm like, "I'm sure he's having a great day, but let's get that number 13 up there, huh?"
Yeah. No, it's funny. Still, people still reach out to me, fans and stuff, for Christmas, wishing me Merry Christmas or this type of stuff. So it's special how well they like me and how they treated me. Obviously when you look at like my numbers and all that, like I was good. I wasn't always like the leading points and all that. So just the way they liked how I played and were able to appreciate kind of what I put into it means a lot. And obviously the jersey retirement would be awesome. But yeah, I think, just the way I get treated when I'm there, or even, still get brought up from here from time to time is pretty special. So.
I saw you, like, they had like the booth, the table set up for you to sign autographs. I'm like, look at this guy, unbelievable. Line out the door.
Yeah,
for a Foxy auto.
It's funny too. A lot of these little kids, from the time that it was a year, I guess 2 years, from when I stopped playing, and I'm seeing some of these kids now, and they look completely different. Just because instead of them being 8, they're 10 or 11 now. I'm like, man, like, time flies. So it was nice to see they still remember me, and it's always fun getting up there when I can. It's kind of a hike, but I like to. I'll try and make another trip up there this summer or this season, I'm sure, and have some fun in the city and just be able to watch the game. Maybe show up a little late and enjoy myself.
There's still some 13s bopping around the building up there. You still see some.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
that's very good.
Someone just sent me one too that I signed. So it's good to see those. They're the vintage ones now. They got the new sweaters. So
how much pressure is that for you to, like, when you sign it? Like, you gotta make sure it's like, you gotta make sure it's perfect. Like, is there pressure on you? You just scribble away.
It's harder when it's like they want you to like write something, and it's like, what do I write? So that's tough. But the signature is not, just as long as you can see the number, then they can put it together, I think.
Like, how do you spell wishes again?
Yeah. Thanks. You're spelling their name wrong. It's a little stressful, but when you get the lines, the line you can just kind of cruise through.
Cruise
But
through.
when they're personalized, that's when the pressure's on.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who I had on. They're like, I was so nervous doing autographs because they're like, someone wants this, and like, if I mess this up, they're not gonna like me anymore.
Yeah. It was funny. So I went to so when I played in Reading, I only played like 10 games, but I was there for a while. And Maine played Reading in the playoffs last year. So I went down to a game, and there was a guy there with like a Reading Royals Fox jersey. And I guess I signed it, but I was like, I don't even think I wore that jersey, like, because I barely play. So I was thinking, like, and I wasn't signing many autographs back then. So I was like, that one's probably a mess. I'm putting my head down. Hopefully he doesn't recognize me. But.
All right, now you're retired, we can let it fly a little bit. What's the worst thing that ever happened to you?
And like just a story, like
what's like the worst story? Like, what's a story you look back and you're like, oh, it's just a terrible time.
Yeah, so I was just telling my parents a story. I might have told it before. I don't know if I told it on here, but we did it was my first year in Mississippi, and we were in the playoffs. And I'm sure this happens at I mean, obviously not in the NHL, but I'm sure it's happened in the coast. But when they do the playoffs, they don't like rent the ice, like they don't like pre-rent it. So we were playing in Huntsville, Alabama, and they had like monster trucks or something at their thing or concert. So we had to play at their practice rink, which was, I mean, a practice rink in Hershey, Pennsylvania is one thing. A practice rink in Huntsville, Alabama is what you'd expect it to be. And so we're driving there day of the game, and we have like a sleeper bus, which day of the game, a sleeper bus is like the most annoying thing because there's no seats. So you just have to like lay down weirdly for a couple hours. And then bus breaks down. So we're on the side of the road. We finally like get the thing running, and it is not safe to be on. There's like smoke in the bus, but we finally get to this practice rink, and it's like 9:30 at night. We're still playing the game. They're like, get dressed. So we have like the kids 5-minute warm up, and then the game, right? We just go right into the game, no ice cut. It was a best of 3 series. It was game 2 we had to win, and I ended up scoring 2 goals and we won the game. But the game ended at like 1 a.m, and we had to get back on this bus that's like smoking. I'll have to send you I have the video of this bus, so I'll send you it afterwards. But that was kind of like that league in itself is, I feel like it gets kind of a bad rap. It's the same, like you get treated the same as you would like in the ECHL. Like it's not like a rinky dink league, but some of the stories I have from that, I remember like my first weekend, like some of the cities I went to. I played in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and that place is like, I think they renovated it, but it was dangerous to play there. Like it felt like a prison. And I remember the first weekend my first weekend on the road, and we come back on the bus, and there's like beers on the bus. I'm like, oh, this is great. Like this is pro hockey. You know what I mean? And then we get to the point where like, I mean, we were really drinking, and our trainer comes back, and like, I remember he couldn't even like stand up. Like I had to like walk the guy to like his bunk, and I'm like, geez, this guy works for the team. I'm like trying to keep it together a little bit. And no, I'm like carrying him. I'm like the youngest guy on the team, carrying the trainer to his bed. I'm like, oh, all right. I guess the rookie duties are a little different here than I'm used to. But yeah, those Mississippi days were were pretty funny. Just yeah, we were right there by Memphis, so had some good times there. But that's a different part of the country that I was not used to.
I can't imagine hockey. You were down there for what, 2-3 years?
Yeah, 2 years. Well, like yeah, year and a half, season and a half. And then yeah, they folded, and it was funny. There's a kid, my buddy Brant Sherwood. He was up in the coast for a little bit too, Norfolk, I think. But now he lives in Philadelphia. He's a SUNY Cortland boy too. So
good guy, has to be a good guy.
Yeah. So he lives in Philly now. So I hang out with him quite a bit. He was just down here, and yeah, we were just talking about. So we both played in Mississippi like the same amount of time, but I went to Reading, and then came back down for like the last 10 games of the season in Mississippi, and they weren't in a playoff spot. And we ended up getting into the playoffs like on the last day. And then Reading called me, like we were going in the playoffs, and Reading called me and like, hey, we have a couple guys that can't play. Do you want to come back up for playoffs? And so I ended up going up, and my buddy Brant always jokes that I burned the organization to the ground because they folded after that, lost in the first round.
They would have won that championship. Maybe they would get a little more funding.
Yeah. So we always joke that I burned them to the ground. But no, it was great down there. Those guys, there's like a core group of guys that were there for a while. And, you know, I always stay in touch with them. And, you know, they all reached out when I ended up retiring because I was kind of the young guy there for a bit. But yeah, that was a good little run down there. Definitely a different area, like I said, but some good people. That organization, though, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how they were running it there for a while.
How many Waffle Houses were hitting that league?
Oh my gosh, it was that and Cracker Barrel. There was a lot of Cracker Barrel. But I remember there was a Waffle House like right by where we lived, and you know, we get dropped off at the rink, and you know, 3 a.m, and me and my buddy would always go. It was kind of sketchy, actually. The Waffle House at 3 a.m. in South Haven, Mississippi, not where you want to be, but yeah, there was quite a bit. I think that was the biggest thing. Was like, there was times I'm like, man, I wish I could just get like a normal slice of pizza. like it was just so the food was nuts. Like it was a different area for sure.
I don't think I ever asked you about your OJHL experience up there. I mean, who's in the league that year? Any big names in the league that year with you?
Yeah. So I think I was actually just looking at this. So like Josh Juris, I think he
former
was like
Ranger.
Yeah, he had like a big. Greg Carey, he played here, or he played in
Hartford
for a while.
I think he was in Hartford too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he would skate in the summers down here. I think he might have lived here for a little bit. Trying to think of some other guys that would have been maybe younger. I remember like just thinking like when I was up there, I was like one of the only guys that was like billeting. Like it's such a different lifestyle. Like it's almost like when you're up there, it's like, all right, I'm gonna just play junior hockey and then like I'll get a job. But like you play junior hockey. It's like I remember our longest bus trip was like to Wellington, and it was maybe 2 hours. Like we didn't stay in a hotel, we didn't do like any of that. So it was like a different you know, I'm used to being away, you know, weekends at a time. That was like you're driving 15 minutes across town to play another team. Like there were so many teams. Yeah, I just looked at this too. I don't really know if there was any. I feel like there's probably some younger guys that, you know, I'm not remembering, but yeah, that was like wild too, because I was 18, I think, and you know, I was just going to bars. Like I was like pretty much like I was in another country. I remember I got pulled over in my like Volkswagen Jetta, and the guy's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm playing hockey." Like I don't, like he like didn't believe me. Like yeah, like and then like something came to my house, and my parents were like, "What happened?" I was like, Oh yeah, I got pulled over. Like they're like, you didn't even tell it. Like I felt like I was on like a watch list or something at one point. I was just up there free, like 18 around Toronto.
We got an American up here. We got
Yeah.
let's
Yeah,
get.
I didn't have the correct papers or something. But yeah, that was fun. I kind of wish I stayed up there a little bit more. It was tough because like I said, I was the only guy billeting, and yeah, it was a different, like I was kind of alone a lot, where like the other guys had these like lives, they all lived at home, they were doing their own thing. But yeah, it was fun experience up there. Kind of nice to, I always sneak in that I lived in Canada for a little bit, when the time, when I'm able to, because I think that's cool to say. But of course, they're like, yeah, of course you did.
Yeah, played the
You're
O for a little bit. Played the O for a little bit, but like, leave out the.
Yeah. I did go to 2009. Here we go. This will give you a chuckle. 2009 Sudbury Wolves training camp. So I can hang that on my in my basement. We have a bar in my parents' basement, and they have my nameplate from the Sudbury Wolves training camp, and they didn't even spell my name right. So that's always that's fun.
I mean, when you walk into a locker room and see your name misspelled on the nameplate.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, all right. They got the last name right, but the first name was butchered pretty good.
If they got a Foxtrot, we got more issues then.
Yeah. I don't think they had a nameplate for a jersey ready for me. So just one for the locker room.
So you can do training camps and still play, or is it D3 different than D1?
No, so there's like a time limit, which also like it's fun. Like I think it's 48 hours or 72 hours. Like you can only be there for, but they don't want you to like really leave. So like you're just kind of like, you kind of have to go in and be like, hey, I'm leaving. It was kind of like an awkward thing. But I remember the reason I went up there is because Mike Foligno coached Hershey for a long time, and I played with Marcus growing up. Like we were the same age, but he ended up leaving and they went up there. He coached in Sudbury.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where they're all from. And then Nick ended up playing there, and then Marcus played there, obviously. And then once I was about that age, they I guess like asked around to make sure I was any good, and then so I went to rookie camp like in June, and then they invited me back to Maine camp. So that was a pretty cool experience. It was so far away from here. Like I was like a 12-hour drive, and I remember my parents took me up. But yeah, that was a cool little place too. I remember it felt like you went back to like 1980s. Like it was like a little town. Like the power went out one night, and like everybody it was like normal. Like, all right, let's play some hockey.
Get the candles out.
Yeah.
Now, so did you have dreams of the OHL, or was that just kind of like a thing that you're like, let's try it for a minute? And
I honestly had like no idea about anything. I like knew once that was like an opportunity, like I was like, yeah, like pumped. Like obviously I'd go on like YouTube and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, wear a half shield, like this is gonna be awesome. And then yeah, I didn't have any idea like what, like obviously you play like midget hockey, but like I was like really good like around here, that like I knew I had to do like,
somewhere.
Yeah. But I didn't know what to do. And then yeah, they ended up inviting me to that, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, like we'll go check it out. I guess that's like the next step. And yeah, I went up, but then I was like worried because I didn't really know the hours rule, and like you see these guys, like I was a tiny like kid, like I didn't work out at all. These guys were like coming back from like NHL training camps, and I'm like, yeah, so it was like kind of a wake up call, but also like I didn't know, like I didn't want to like ruin a future if it wasn't going to work out type of deal. but yeah, obviously I would have loved to do it if I knew a little bit more, but I just had this in my head, like, yeah, I could go through this whole training camp and they cut me. And then what do I do? Like now I can't go to college. Like, that's what I was thinking. So yeah, it was kind of a weird, I was kind of thrown into it, but it was fun. And I obviously did well enough, to kind of get that call back. And I think they actually kind of set me up with Whitby then later on down the road. But yeah, at that point, if, someone in the OHL wanted to sign me, I wouldn't even have thought twice about it.
Yeah, Foligno 6'3", 227. So I mean, that's
and there's guys like teeing off on each other in this training camp, and I'm like they're like, I remember we had like a lift, and I didn't even know what to do. Like, I just walked around because I was like, I've never done this before.
That's the Ben Sherratt was on that team too, another huge guy.
Yeah, they had a couple.
Jeez.
I think
He's
Eric
6.
Odell was there. He was like the big. I remember he had his like Anaheim Ducks gear, and I'm like, whoa, look at this.
It's a flex.
I just played a lowered often in high school. You ever hear that?
You get your junior Flyers gear, like, no big deal.
Yeah. I remember too, like I think I was 15 or 16, and we went out. There's like a local team around here. We went out to, I think they changed the name, but it was like this Max tournament in Calgary. It's like over Christmas. I guess it's like a big midget tournament, and I did really well there. And there was like a couple BCHL teams that I was gonna go out. I don't know if I got like offered, but I was gonna go out and like check it out. And I ended up getting, I played lacrosse one spring. I played, like, my buddies were doing it. So I was like, all right. Like, and I remember I just went out and I don't know, started playing, and I like tore my knee up really bad. And then I had a bunch of infections in my knee. So it was like, it should have been like a month thing. It turned into like 6 months. So it kind of shut down all those like BCHL stuff. But that's even a league, like, man, if I would have went out there, you know what I mean? It's kind of, I felt like I just made it so hard on myself to get anywhere. Not because, I felt like, I still could have done that, but I just didn't know anything. So
BCHL, it's funny enough, that league's a big college feeder too. Like, you wouldn't think British Columbia Hockey League would be but we had a couple guys on the show that like they go there to play college hockey, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of like it was kind of like the USHL in a way. I feel like for the Canadian guys.
How the hell did you not find out in the USHL? How did you get in there?
Man, honestly, I was just talking to someone about like I didn't even know, like, I didn't even really know that was a thing. Like, I didn't know anything. And I kind of just like, people like, all these opportunities I would get were just people that I thought like, knew more than me. And they're like, yeah, like, do this. Like, so I don't know. I think, I definitely made it harder on myself. Obviously, if I went to the USHL, that would have probably helped me out quite a bit, but no, I thought the SUNY route was better.
Yeah, senior route was the way to go. Let me tell you, only the bravest survive. The strongest survive.
It's so tough to being from here. It, like, especially when I'm at work or like I have a client or I have someone and they're like, oh, like, and I'm talking about all this pro hockey I played, and then they're like, oh, where'd you go to college? And then I'm like, SUNY Plattsburgh, and they're like, well, oh. Like, in hockey, like, you would know that, but like, these people all that, and you went to somewhere I've never even heard of.
Listen, hey, SUNY hockey is on the rise.
I know it is.
There's some good hockey there.
Plattsburgh's coming back a little bit too. There's a little bit of a rough spot where they were out of the rankings. I think they're back in the rankings now. I want to try and get up there. I haven't been up there for a game, but man, I still text Keels about Michael Keeley, the Mariners radio guy, the broadcaster, about when Oswego Plattsburgh meet up, because that's always
it's a big rivalry.
Yeah. So that one's still fun to check in on, but yeah, the SUNY, still wear it with pride.
I've had a couple SUNY guys on since you've been on. It's good. It's good in the wild. There's a couple in the wild still. We don't find too many in the hockey world though.
No. I think I've kept an eye out. Like when I see a guy, there's a kid I played with. He's playing in Iowa now. That I played in Plattsburgh with. So it's good to see some of the Plattsburgh boys still kicking around. But if I notice a name, in the ECHL play, and it's good to see him putting a good name to it.
Has there been a Plattsburgh guy that reached the NHL yet?
The NHL?
Yeah.
So back like in the 80s and 90s, they were like, I think I don't know how it worked, but there's a couple like AHL guys.
Okay.
I think I know that they would get like they would play like Division I teams and and beat them. Like I don't know how it worked where like maybe these guys were like it was harder to see guys because like I think they had a ton of like really good like AHL players and stuff. But yeah, I don't know about the NHL. I'm sure there was a couple camps in there. Or more of a camp school.
Or a camp school.
Yeah.
Are you the most recent guy to reach the A or no?
For Plattsburgh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
is there a nice little like section for you there, like in the hockey?
Well, it's funny. In my time there, I made the all SUNYAC third team. I made that one time.
Wait, academic?
No, just
so hockey. Okay.
I got SUNYAC Player of the Week a couple times.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't think there's much up on that. Maybe a couple action shots of me in there. But yeah, I was more.
Maybe that's where you should ship your Hershey jersey to.
Yeah,
ship the Hershey jersey up there for the.
Yeah, maybe I could. Yeah, I was more of a 200-foot player there. Was more of a team guy.
More of a team guy. Yeah. You got to Maine, you started scoring goals,
Yeah. So you know what? There's too many games. I can't play 200 feet here.
That's what Wally said about you. He's like, yeah, he's a goal scorer, not a big distributor. I'm like, oh, that's a tough shot. Tough shot.
Yeah, rebounds. That's where the assists come from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Shots wide off the boards.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Before I let you go, I want to ask you one last question. I think you told us which one was your prank story. Wally probably told the worst prank story I've ever heard on this podcast with telling the guy he got called up when he was in Adirondack.
Yeah. I knew who that guy. I know who that guy was too. Trying to think. I'm definitely going to tell a story about that guy.
Okay, deal.
Did he say who it was?
He did not say who it was. No.
Okay. Well, this same guy, I might have told this story. Oh, well, now I don't want to say his name, but I could tell you who it was for this prank story. We played in Norfolk.
Where were you? You were in Maine?
Yeah. I think I might have told this story on here, but I'll tell another one too. And Norfolk was terrible. And we played there 3 times and we lost 2. We lost 2 of the games, but we lost like 6-1, I think. Like it was bad. And then we bust all the way back to Maine from Norfolk, which was terrible. And then this kid gets called up and we're all like kind of worried about how practice is going to be. Cause like, I remember Danny came down in the room in between periods in Norfolk. So, and like that never happened. And he was laying into us. But we're kind of worried, like, man, we're going to get bagged today. So, but this kid, he gets called up. So he's at the rink before us and he takes his gear and he left and he writes on the board, like the practice board, forwards on the ice, 10, like practice at 10:30, 10 a.m., no sticks. So we're like, shit, like we're all like, yep, this is what we thought it was going to be. And we're all out there like at 10 a.m. And Raul's like, what are you guys doing? Like we're like, you wrote on the board, like 10 a.m., like no stick. He's like, I didn't write that. And it was obviously this kid that like is now up in Laval or Hartford. And yeah, he just wrote that little thing for us right before he left. So I guess I was kind of a harmless one, but didn't feel great to know that, think that was coming. But yeah, the same guy told me another story, or he, I think it was a real tough guy. I don't want to say it was Gillies, McGrattan, maybe Brian McGrattan, Chris McGrattan,
Brian
Brian
McGrath.
McGrattan.
Yeah.
Played in Calgary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Couple spots.
So
Yeah.
this same kid was playing in the minors with him in Adirondack when they were in the AHL,
Hmm.
and I guess he would just constantly like loosen Brian McGrattan's visor, like loosen the screws, so like his visor would keep, I'm sure he wasn't used to like wearing a visor, but he would just constantly do it like every day, and Brian McGrattan would lose his mind. His visor would keep falling down. And I'm like, dude, you are picking the wrong targets here to be
Going
ranked.
after.
But yeah, I mean, just thinking this guy, the same guy, would always change his number in like people's phones too, and do the classic like, hey, it's Riles, like, can you give me a call? And they'd call Riles, on Sunday night, and like, what? No, like, what are you doing? Why are you calling me? So yeah, he was never stopping. I remember like in college too, we had a phone in our locker room, and you just picked it up and it rang the coach's office. So we would always do the when the new guys would come in, right on the board, hey, Fox, Bob needs you to call him. And you'd pick the phone up and be like, hey, did you need me? And I don't know if you know Bob Emery, but he wasn't exactly the nicest guy to try and get a hold of sometimes. So he wasn't happy about that. But yeah, just some fun, light stuff.
Oh man. Yeah, I can't imagine the pranks either too on like the Mississippi buses going
Yeah,
through. I'm sure.
Those guys would really kind of give it to you too. Like, I'm trying to think of like those guys were ruthless. Like it was so funny because there was probably like 5 or 6 of them that were there for like 5 or 6 years, and like this is how we did things, and like so they were pretty tough. I can't think. I remember there was just some Sundays there where you play Friday, Saturday, and like Sunday, like, oh, like you just kind of want to like hang out. They would like force us to come over, and like we'd have to bring all this beer, all this food for everybody, and I'm like, I just want to lay down. And they're next thing you know, it's like 6 o'clock, and I'm like, oh boy, tomorrow's gonna be a long day. So, but yeah, those guys were great. They were, like I said, kind of the old guard before it got changed to all these young guys. But yeah, they weren't too easy on me, that's for sure.
Hey, that's how it goes, all right. The veteran, they gotta show you the way. Then you can do it to
Yeah.
someone else.
Yeah, me and Wally would always joke because when the season's long and you go through, you might have some like tough stretches, and that's what you do. You go out with the boys, or you have a couple beers, and we always joked because we would play a ton of minutes, and then we would have to also kind of run the party. So we were burning the candle on both ends sometimes for the team, and the young guys, you had to get to come out of their shell a little bit, so you're working a little harder off the ice sometimes. But no, that's when you look back now, I look back, I got like real problems to deal with. And then it was like, oh man, I gotta go watch football with the guys. Dang.
But hey, listen, that's his leadership quality, though.
Yeah.
Throw a 200-foot game on and off the ice. That's
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I think I was a little more off the ice sometimes than I should have.
Well, Dylan, thanks so much for jumping on again with us, and we'll definitely get you back on again in the future. And be good, and hope you guys had a great holiday.
Yeah, you too, man. I'll try and do a little bit more hockey research. I've been out of it for a little bit, but yeah, next time you have me on, we'll we'll talk some more hockey maybe, and I'll give you a little bit more insight. But no,
Maybe
always a pleasure, man. And yeah,
I'll
whenever you
say
need.
maybe we'll get some game tape of you going, and we'll break down
There
some
we
game.
go.
We'll have Riles come on and break down game tape of you. That
Yeah, no, that's
get you
perfect.
right back in the room again, make you feel like you're back in the, getting undressed in front of the team and
Oh
show
yeah,
everything. Yeah.
yeah. He actually real quick, he sent me a picture the other day. So like the last one of the last practices before like everything shut down, we did a shootout, and then the loser had to do a PowerPoint or like a presentation in front of the team. That was like, so I lost, and I did it on the Suni. So he sent me a picture. I'll shoot you the picture after, and it's just me up there with the PowerPoint. It says, "What is the Suni?"
What is the Sunni?
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
that can go a lot of different directions. What is the Sunni? Let me tell you.
Yeah. I actually learned quite a bit from it. So
did you? Oh, you actually did real research into it?
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there's a
Okay.
lot of Wikipedia, but a lot of copy and paste. But
Now,
I
is
still
this
have it somewhere.
now is this the last on the team or last of a select few forwards?
Yeah. So you had to score to get out, and I felt like I got picked on quite a bit. The goalies would try on some of them.
Okay.
But yeah, we would do we always did like funny stuff like that. But I would lose quite a bit actually, now that I think of it. Which is
in a real shootout, were you on the top 5? Like you were in the top list?
yeah,
Or?
I had a couple. I remember we did one, and if you scored, you stayed in. And then you got to pick. Rouse is like, if you score, you stay in, and then you'll get to go first on the next one. And I said, and I won that, and I said, I just want to go if we can win it.
Okay.
And I think that's what ended up happening. But yeah, if there was something on the line, I think I ran my mouth a little bit too much that the guys would pick on me. So I got stuck doing some dumb things a couple times. There's some pictures like I see action pictures that they'll like still use, and I have like the like greasiest sideburns, and it's because I lost and I had to grow my sideburns out. So yeah, if there was something good, I was probably one of the last few I was sweating it, that's for sure.
The lighthouse video, was that a forced thing, or did you do that by yourself?
Oh no, that was a summer. I was there in the summer, and they did it. Keels texted me. So yeah, I was just reading off the thing.
Yeah, it's an all-timer. It's an all-timer. There's so much emotion coming into your voice reading what was happening.
Yeah. Well, I only had a couple games under my belt at that point, so I think I was still trying to hide in the weeds. But then once the hair started growing, I came out of my shell a little bit more.
That was great. All right, Dillan, man. Thanks so much for jumping on.
Yeah, thanks, man. We'll see you.
Thank you so much to Dillan again for coming on the show. It was great to catch back up with him. We talk off air in between, but it was great to have him back on the podcast to share some stories and hear some new ones from our last interview. And I love the Igor stuff and the Fox, the 23 call up, just funny stuff, good stuff with him. And obviously we joke around about the Sunni, but not too many Sunni guys out there in hockey, so it's very cool to always get a Sunni guy on the show and chop it up. But I can't thank Dillan enough for coming on. And again, I know it was last year, but we have it on. Congratulations on a great career. And his Maine Mariner goal record was actually just surpassed this last weekend. So I can't say, unfortunately, he's the greatest goal scorer in Maine history anymore. He's a second, which is pretty good. But yeah, a great career from him, and he did great things up there in Maine. So I can't thank him enough for coming on. And that does it, funny enough, episode 113, number 13 there for our guy Dillan Fox. But thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope everyone had a great new year. It was a great year last year. I can't thank all of our listeners enough. And we put out a little video as a thank you. And I was going back and putting all of our guests that we had on. This is crazy, the lineup of guests we had this last year. From Linda Cohen to Stan Fischler to Glenn Healy to Matt Barnaby. It was just incredible. We had so many incredible guests on. And I cannot thank our listeners enough. And it's because of the listeners, because we have such dedicated listeners and followers that I'm able to secure these great guests to come on, like Bernie Nichols talking about his book. We had so many good guests. And last year in the playoffs, we had so many good analysts, and our guy Colin Stevenson who comes on, I feel like monthly now from Newsday. He's so great to have on the show. And our guy Ardo Cal there on ESPN, one of the top guys in ESPN, and he's always takes time for the show to come on. And, that's because we have a great listener base and great followers. So thank you to everybody. And make sure, if you're not following the show, it's your first time listening, make sure you go and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review there. And every 5-star we do receive, $1 is donated to Alex's Lemonade Foundation. So please, we've raised over $100 for the foundation. Thank you to everyone who's already gone on there and done that. It takes literally 10-15 seconds out of your day. Leave a 5-star review and help an amazing cause that helps fight pediatric cancer. Thank you to everyone who's done that. Make sure you subscribe to the show on Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review there. You can find the show on Google Play, Pandora, Amazon Music. Anywhere you get your podcast, you can find us there. Make sure you follow the show on social media, on Twitter at Broadway Hat Pod, my personal account at KHallNY. Make sure you find us on Facebook and Instagram at the Broadway Hat Podcast. And make sure you find us on YouTube at the Broadway Hat Podcast there as well. We uploaded last week our Mark Messier trade tree history, Rangers trade tree history, featuring the Mark Messier trade. We've had over 1,000 downloads already on that one program, so we'll definitely be doing a new trade tree soon, probably towards the end of January. I'll have a new one out because it seems like that's been a really big hit with a lot of Ranger fans and hockey fans in general. So thank you to everyone who's downloaded or watched that so far. And make sure we have all of our podcast clips and full podcasts on there as well. So make sure you go check that out on our YouTube page. And thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next week.